Welcome to the Gravel Lot, the place where bikes are for everyone.
The Gravel Lot podcast is presented by Be Free Ride Bikes Apparel, providing a fully customized cycling apparel experience to provide you and your team the attention to detail and personal touch that you deserve.
And also brought to you by Grimpore Brothers Coffee, offering handmade coffee roasted weekly in small batches to give you the finest quality coffee to start your day. Choose their subscription service and earn your free bag of coffee today.
Also by BioWheels Fit Studio and Workshop in Cincinnati, Ohio, offering you a full host of bike fitting services intended to provide the cycling enthusiast with the most efficient, comfortable, and sustainable bike fit they have ever had.
And by the Ritual All Natural Skincare, providing small batch, handmade chamois cream custom blended for your team or shop right here in Cincinnati, Ohio. Contact us today to learn more.
And by Hand Up Gloves, great gear, better times. Providing a wide range of apparel for bikes, snow sports, and golf in multiple designs and fits to let your personality shine.
Our goal with the Gravel Lot is to inspire cyclists of all stripes to ride bikes, share their story, and have fun. We love all bikes and anyone who wants to ride them. So no matter where you sit on the spectrum of bikes, we'll always have a place for you in the Gravel Lot.
And now, the hosts of TGL, John Woolry and Doug McClintock. or Jug. Okay. It's like Benifer, right? Wasn't that one of them? Or yeah, me neither. No, but if you're going to go support us on Patreon, you need to know what you're going to get. And John and I just cut a video earlier today talking about our thoughts on the Rob DiMartini interview. We're going to give you that as much as we can, try to give you a wrap up on every single week so you can get a little information about how we felt about the episode, some things that we wish we could have shared, or other things like that, some insights on that. And we also want to take your questions about John and I personally, do some AMA stuff. So send those over to us. We're going to give you sneak peeks on new projects that we're working on and upcoming guest interviews so that you know who you can get your questions in for or who you want to be hyped for coming down the pike. You can get that information to us, those AMA questions, over our website or through Patreon or any of that, or at our new text or voicemail number when someone left a voicemail. So thank you very much. 513-400-5577. Leave us, I don't know, just an inspirational message. That'd be fine. We'd be good with an inspirational message, but we want to use those questions and get that stuff out on Patreon to give you a little bit of insight. Again, as John said, we're super thankful for everybody who's been supporting us. We hope you continue to share it with your friends and make that happen. So
I guess we got to start. Doug.
Yeah, it's time.
How was your ride this week?
Awesome, but concerning.
Okay.
So you all know I got a BMX bike, right? Ellen and I got BMX bikes.
We've been waiting for the ER visit.
Dear God, let's pray it's not coming. I just knocked the desk. I'm sorry if you had to hear the Foley on that, but got to be careful. But I've riding the BMX bike to and from work every morning. Like I park my car and I ride like the 1.5 miles to work, or the half a mile, 3/4 of a mile to work from my parking spot. It's kind of fun, hopping off curbs and doing stuff, whatever. And I don't know, I was feeling real crappy this week because I felt like I had I don't know, it wasn't constipation, but it was like in between like the bottom of my ribs in the center and like the middle above my belly button. Like if you were to draw a line in between the two, it was kind of that spot. And I was like, man, Ellen, I'm not feeling good. Like I have like this really pit in my stomach, and I thought, oh, maybe I just needed to use the bathroom or whatever. And so I'm like kind of worried about it. And I expressed this to her. And then on Sunday, I was like walking into the living room and she's sitting on the couch. And I was like, man, it just really still is bothering me. And it's not the whole going to the bathroom thing. She's like, well, nothing's changed except you're riding a BMX bike every day. Doug, those are your abs. Those are your upper abs. And I'm like, oh, oh, so I'm sore because I've been bent over riding a BMX bike and I never use those muscles. So I'm an idiot.
Old man joke. So that gives some
basically what's been going on.
That gives some clarity as to why before coming on live, when I said that I was trying to lay on my stomach on the hardwood floor and watch TV and I got stuck, you told me you were really excited to share your ride this week because old man problems, apparently.
Yeah, I'm just an idiot, and I don't use that top part of my abs much as I use the rest of my core, and I guess I've been using them a lot more, and so of course it feels horrible and painful. So hey, over 40 BMX, there you go. That's a new one for me. So how's your ride been, John?
It was good. So first off, thank you to some of our watchers already, because again, we are experiencing technical audio issues this week. So hopefully my mic is now back on and running. I have bars again, so apologies for that. We still have a ticket in with Streamlabs. No idea what's going
Get it
on.
together, Streamline.
Yes, please get it together, because this is important for us and this is important for everyone listening. Mine was good. So last year, right before the pandemic, went to see my GP, and he is actually came recommended to me by Doug, because he's a runner, he's an endurance athlete, and I had some very specific questions about some things that I've experienced on the bike, and then while doing some of my strength training. And they did an EKG, found something abnormal, wanted to schedule an echo. Then the pandemic hit. Then I lost my job, which meant no insurance. I wasn't about to go do an expensive procedure on Cobra, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then whatever, like, you forget, you don't worry about things. And I'm a 37-year-old male and didn't want to go see a doctor because it might have been bad news. Anyway, finally got over myself this week from enough badgering from my wife and my friend here, to go get it looked at. And whilst trying to schedule my appointment, they asked me if I had gotten my vaccine yet. And I said no. And they said, why not? You would qualify. And I said, excuse me?
Why?
Because right now in Ohio, we're getting ready to go down to 50 plus with pre-existing conditions. It's been 60 plus with pre-existing conditions. My wife actually got hers on Sunday because she's interacting with high school kids for admissions work. But for me, I was like, well, I'm just going to have to wait until everything gets opened up. But then they proceeded to tell me that because I have a technical pre-existing heart condition, I can go get my vaccine. So that was 10:30 Monday morning, and at 1:45 I got my first dose of Pfizer. So yeah, it's a big deal for kind of 24 hours apart, my wife and I both getting our first dose, and things are starting to open up from a vaccination perspective in Ohio, which hopefully that immediately means that things will start to feel a little bit more normal and open up. So I don't really have any feelings.
That's good. I mean, that is the ride, right? The ride isn't necessarily a bike. It's the ride we're all on.
But and it's nice to have gotten it done. And I've kind of felt like blah all day today. Not bad, not great, but I don't really. It's odd. I thought I would have feelings about getting my first one and like relief and all of those things.
You're on the path.
But
you're on the path, and maybe you'll feel relief in 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Right.
But the good thing is I may be able to hug you sometime in the near future, which is very awesome, and I'm very excited.
Or maybe
that.
I feel like I feel like this is gonna be a recurring theme of you might be relieved, or it might just be your abs.
That's what I'm wondering. Can I use that as a pre-existing condition? I don't think so. Unfortunately, I don't think I can.
Can I? My stomach hurts. My abs hurt from riding a BMX bicycle.
X-bike.
Can I get my vaccine?
Should not be doing. Yeah. I don't think that works for me, but I'll keep trying for sure. So without any further ado, I do want to bring our guest in this week, patiently waiting in the wings and joining us. We are very, very excited. Make sure you put some information if you've got questions for our guest this week. We are joined by the good doctor that we were introduced to by way of our friends over at Bike Shop Show, and more specifically, Mr. David Palin, as she is both his riding partner and exceptionally awesome friend. If you've ever seen photos, they are on every bridge. Well, most specifically, a bridge in the great state of Michigan consistently. But we know her as probably one of the most committed amateur athletes that we have had the pleasure to meet. And her accomplishments really do back that up. But we're really excited to let her share her story today. So without any further ado, Dr. Tracy Berman, welcome to the Gravel Lot.
Thank you.
I think
we are so glad to have you.
Yeah,
awesome.
You are one of many of the amazing people that Scotty and David have brought into our world. And I think for everybody listening right now, for everybody watching, I think it's important to put a pin before we jump into this to say that Scotty and David are back. Bike Shop Show is coming back. Their relaunch, re-release, I don't know what you want to call it, is going to be tomorrow morning, Wednesday. What is
get it on all of your your feeds.
Wednesday, March 10th. Get it on all of your feeds. Download it. Get it in your ears. Get back to listening to Scotty and Mr. David Palin. They are some of our best friends. They are some of the best people that we have discovered in this world of podcasting, and they are getting back after it. So we are excited about that. But yes, Dr. Tracy Berman, you came into our orbit because of both of those fools, and we could not be happier to have you on our show. So I think without further ado, let's jump right in and say how did little Tracy, how did bikes come into her world?
Little Tracy, I don't think I was that little. I was definitely probably a late starter, even learning to ride a bike as a kid.
I think it might be fair to say that you're...
Are you calling me little because I'm short compared to you?
No, that we don't make short jokes on this show.
No, we don't. No. I think it's all contextual.
Okay. Normal size. I'm average sized. Average size Tracy.
Average size Tracy.
Yeah. So bikes kind of came at that two different ways. So my dad started bike commuting when I was in college. And so he kind of got me into that. And I worked at the same factory that he still works in. I was like doing data entry as a summer job. And so we would sometimes go in together early in the mornings, which is still a thing for me. And he was doing centuries before I was. He rode from my hometown in Sturgis to Ann Arbor, which is about 100 miles. He's not riding much anymore, but maybe he'll get back to it. And then more in the sport, I got into bikes through triathlon, which I still don't remember why I wanted to do triathlon. I must have seen the Ironman on TV, because how else would you even know what it is?
Yeah.
But I couldn't swim. I was terrified of swimming.
Really?
And so, yeah, I'm before I don't do triathlons anymore, but before I quit, maybe the last two races, I was like, oh, I could see how someone would enjoy this. But before then, not a big fan. So I remember in high school, I went to watch a few of the guys that I met from cross country. Like I only watched them at the swim transition and then I left. It was so weird. But so that was me checking it out. But then I didn't learn how to swim until after my son was born. I don't know, 2009, something like that. So a decade later.
So the entrance to bikes as a competitive thing for you is a lot more recent than I think a lot of people may think. But like you grew up and your dad exposed you to some extent. I mean, if he was riding centuries and bike commuting, the bike must have been around. And if I'm not mistaken, you grew up like on a farm in rural Southwest Michigan, right? Like not in the middle of a metropolis, and where bike commuting should not normally be a thing, right?
It's only 3 miles from downtown, but I don't know if a lot of people do it. Like it's not as popular as it is in Ann Arbor or a bigger city like that.
Sure.
Ann Arbor is a big city for me, by the way. Yeah.
So if you had this kind of piece of that model and you mentioned cross country, so sports were something that you like were actively engaged in high school? Like, was there some like background of competitiveness for you?
Yeah. So when I was younger, probably the worst day in my life was the day they made you run the mile run, because that's just not something the human body is meant to do, at least in my head. So I was the kid who always walked it, and then they made me do it again, and I walked it like 1 minute faster. But in high school, hey, it was good enough.
I know. I feel you 100%.
I love the commitment to the process of that, though, of not letting an adult bully you into trying to do something that you're not comfortable with doing.
It didn't seem like it was possible to me. I think I didn't have a reference. Apparently I wasn't paying attention to the other kids around me, but it just didn't seem like something I could do myself. But in high school, we had PE for 1 semester, and your grade was based on how you did they had the presidential test, right? So you had to do that for the presidential test. And also your grade was participation. So we had a 10-minute warm up. And I was unhealthfully obsessed with my 4.0 GPA. So yeah, that was what drove me to actually put effort into it, and, surprised myself by actually making the cutoff for the mile run and being one of the more competitive people in that. And so then I tried track that year, my freshman year in high school. I thought I was going to be a sprinter. I'm the slowest sprinter. The shot putters, like everyone can outrun me. I was also going to be a hurdler, which I'm not very coordinated. I cleared like one hurdle. But then cross country the next year. Yeah. No, my husband, I don't remember what division, but he's a state champion at hurdler. So he's a sprinter, but not me. But yeah, then I got into cross country running, and that was more my thing. But I couldn't run the whole thing.
Why did you like cross country as about like outside of like, hey, I was kind of better at it? Like, was there something about cross country that like made your head and heart work together?
That's a good question. I don't remember why I liked it or why I felt compelled to do it. I cried my first race because my coach said I could stop after 2 miles, and then he said I needed to run the whole thing. So yeah, it took me like the whole season to be able to run that whole 3.1 miles. It took me a long time. So it wasn't because I was good at it, naturally good at it. I think maybe I like the team aspect, but I don't know. Good question.
So in doing track, were you doing when you discovered that you weren't a sprinter?
A sprinter.
And to be fair, I don't think Doug or I are either sprinters or endurance athletes.
No,
either. Somewhere I don't know what category we fall in, but regardless, were you doing? Did you kind of gravitate slowly towards the the 18 or the 800, the 1600, the longer events like that, or did you try it and you're like, okay, this isn't for me, but then cross country came around, you're like, okay, that seems more my speed?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much spent my whole first season in track when I thought I was a sprinter injured, because I went to get running shoes and I just went to the Foot Locker and I grabbed the cushioned ones, and I need stability, and I'd never done any training before, so that was most of that season. But yeah, so after cross country, then I knew I was more of a distance athlete, and it was the same coach. So once he knew that I was not a sprinter and I could run the longer distances, they always want more bodies for the longer races.
Got it. So I think you said something very interesting that I think we can go back to, and we can tie a lot of things back to as we dig deeper into kind of the rest of your career, but also your athletic career. Is you were so focused on being a 4.0 athlete or 4.0 student that you wanted to do all of these things really well. Did that also carry into any other extracurriculars? Were you involved in anything outside of just being, I want to get a 4.0?
I was in band, and symphony orchestra.
Yes, me too. Okay.
Yeah, marching band.
Okay, all right. Can you guess what instrument I played?
In band?
Yes.
Trumpet.
Nope.
No.
All right, now I'll guess you. Oboe.
Nope.
Damn.
Fail.
Trombone.
Really? You played trombone? That's awesome.
No, I was doing trombone for you.
For me? No.
We're not going back and forth.
I like how you're picking all of the really loud, brassy instruments for Doug. Yeah,
No.
I don't want to say that because
Sure,
I already kind of walked myself into something that was not appropriate earlier by calling
Doug
you
play?
small.
I played bassoon.
Okay, I love the bassoon.
what
So
did you
I
play?
played flute
Okay.
in high school, and then once I got to U of M, I transitioned to tuba.
Wait, really?
Huh?
Yeah.
That seems not the same.
Yes, John.
I know they're
It's
both.
all about the bass, right?
Yeah.
I guess that's what the kids say.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
okay, so what was what kind of led to that transition? Because you're in different areas of the band in terms of position. You're in different octaves in the specific area. It's a completely different load on your body. There's so much about it that's different. So how did that transition even happen?
I had wanted to play tuba or at least I was interested in it when I was in high school, but we probably had the only band in the history of time where there's more tuba players than piccolo players. So they didn't want me to switch. But at the University of Michigan, like the college bands, they want tubas from anywhere. They grab tubas from drumline. So at least I knew how to blow into an instrument. But I had wanted to, and I took lessons over the summer. I did 1 year as a piccolo my sophomore year at U of M as a piccolo, and then the last 2 years I switched to tuba. Also, the benefit is that you have to audition for your spot in the block, which is the people who get to march in the game. So there's a lot of people who are in reserve. The piccolo section is really competitive. So my first year marching, I made shadow once. So I never got to march in a game. And then once I was a tuba, I was in almost every game.
So I understand this as someone who went to school at a Big Ten school with a famous marching band, the Marching 100 at Indiana University. Like making the band was a deal, and all the Big Ten schools are that way. So that's a pretty cool thing, and like you get to go do some cool games and see some cool stuff.
Yeah.
So I guess to that point, what is your, from the time that you were actually marching on the field and being a part of the U of M band, what are some of your favorite memories from that time?
I just remember the the practices and the pouring rain and stuff. Maybe the same kind of weather junk that I like to ride in, right?
You're like, oh, it's preparation for my
It's miserable.
Yeah.
I'm being really happy I have the waterproof pants. It's just one of those social things, right? Hanging out with the people in your section. Like the college bands are so huge that you don't even necessarily know everyone. There's like 400 people. So you're close knit with the people in your section, and just kind of the parties that you'd have and rehearsals you'd have with them are what I remember the most. Definitely that feeling of going into the Michigan Stadium, like with all the fans in there. That's pretty intense, but yeah.
Yeah, I think up until just recently, the Michigan Stadium was the highest capacity football stadium in the country. It was just not that long ago that they started building stadiums that were over, 102, 104,000 people. So that's, as a younger person, that is walking into a stadium with 100,000 people.
A rock star.
That is it's Keith Richards level. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Without all of the drugs and cigarettes.
Yeah. Cleaner.
No, none of those. Yes.
Maybe some of them, but with those college, we don't talk about college. We don't talk about college in that way. So you went to U of M to like, obviously you were obsessed with your 4.0. I'm assuming that you did it because you got the mile where you needed it to get.
Yeah.
And you went to college to U of M. And what were you studying there?
I just studied physics.
Physics. Why physics? What was the goal at the time that you went to study physics there? Like, what was the?
I didn't go to study physics. I went to U of M to be a doctor. I'd taken the physics class in high school and had done well in that, and decided to take the calc-based physics as opposed to the pre-meds would take physics without calc-based. But I wasn't familiar with engineering. I didn't even know U of M had a separate engineering college you would apply to. And so in my head, like what scientific people did was they became medical doctors. And so that was my plan. And I joined the community living learning community, the health science scholars program. And so I was with people who wanted to be dentists and social workers. And we had some extra classes together and did some job shadowing experiences. And I decided I didn't want to be in the medical profession. And I still did pretty well in the physics classes. And so I didn't want to go take the organic chemistry with all of the pre-meds because they're just kind of crazy about their grades, and it was getting to me. And I couldn't take that and physics 2 at the same time. And so I'm like, I'm going to take physics 2. And then I went around to the majors fair and ran into the advisor for physics. And he's just like, if you go to grad school in physics, they're going to pay for you for your grad school. If you go in medical school, you're going to rack up a lot of bills. I'm like, okay, I'll just keep taking physics. So
That is that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think from everything that it sounds like you were already kind of heading in that direction, that you had, whether or not there was a single experience or just your job shadowing experience from the medical doctor side of it just didn't seem to suit you. So you're already kind of heading in that position. So it seems a little kismet that the advisor is like, no, you're making the right decision. Keep coming in this direction. Yeah, stay the course.
Well, yeah, they definitely are trying to draw in more physics majors all the time too, and women as
Yeah,
well.
for
So
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not exactly like brimming with women, which is important, right? We need to see more women in STEM and all of those spaces. So that's awesome that somebody was encouraging you
Yeah.
to stay in that space and continue to do that. So you graduate out of UNM with physics bachelor's, right? What's the next step on your experience?
Yeah, so I guess right around the time that I was graduating, I got engaged to my now husband. And so we applied to grad schools that were close to each other. We're trying to see where we could both get into kind of the same place. And so he got in at University of Colorado in Boulder, and I got in at Colorado School of Mines. And at that point, I was already into trail running. And so Colorado was pretty high on the list of places I wanted to go
Yeah.
for other reasons.
Yeah, of course, right.
For sure.
Synergy, perfect.
Yes. And so Colorado School of Mines, ironically, is a very strong metallurgy program. I wasn't interested in metallurgy at all at that time. So I stayed in physics and I was studying solar cells. And so in Golden, Colorado, there's I'm blanking on the name. Anyways, one of the national labs that's really strong in solar cell research. And so my vision, if everything worked out perfectly, was I was graduate there and then I could work in that lab. Was my vision.
Cool. We got to have some conversations offline about solar power and stuff, because I got tons of things to pick your brain about in the bike share world. So we can do that, but not on the Pebbles time, because I've got all sorts of questions. I'm sure you know tons. That being said, you said metallurgy, which I know is what you do now. So how did that get exposed to you, and what captivated you about that space?
I don't think I was captivated about metallurgy in particularly. So while I was at Mines, I started doing a lot of electron microscopy as a characterization technique for looking at the solar cells, and I really enjoyed that. And I also helped some other students do their electron microscopy. So there's a qualifying exam. Sometimes in grad school, they let you in and then they give you an exam and they weed people out after they've already let you in. And so unfortunately, my husband was on the receiving end of the weeding. And that was also like 2008. So he was having trouble finding a job
Oh yeah,
in Colorado. And so he had ties back in Ann Arbor where he found a job. And so I kind of left without any degree from Colorado School of Mines. I was pregnant at the time, so we didn't want to be in separate locations. And I came back to Ann Arbor thinking that I was going to take a whole year off to like have the baby and raise the baby. And then I'd go back to grad school when I felt a little more ready. And I was home. We got through Christmas. We moved right before Christmas. Don't do that. Travel is crazy. Like you're like, I just want to buy toilet paper and like the lines. It was the worst idea ever. But we got through the holidays and it was like the first week that U of M was back in session. I was so bored. I'm like, what are you supposed to do with yourself? And so I walked the campus and I'm like, I need to get into grad school. And of course, like the semester had already started. So no one would let me in. But I got a list of people who might be willing to work with me. And the key was I wanted to keep doing electron microscopy. And so I would hike around. I only went to a few places a day and met with different professors. But the one professor who was like, I want you to start right now. I have research right now, was in metallurgy. And also being pregnant and trying to find a position. Obviously, they're not legally allowed to discriminate, but just some strange reactions about, oh, this this student, when she had her baby, she stopped coming in like all hours of the day. And you're like, off the list.
Yeah.
And so the professor that was a metallurgist, she's like, oh, I had my kids when I was in grad school. No good time to do it. You just start. I'm like, okay, metals it is.
Yeah.
So, wow.
But I think I'm just envisioning you like up against the glass, like looking into these classrooms of like, I want to be in there. I just want to be in, like the Garfield Clang from the 80s. But
Oh, I didn't want to go back to the classes. I'd go back to the research, having to do
okay.
classes again, because I thought I was done. I was done with all the classwork at mines, but because I switched, I had to start again. So imagine thinking you're done with ever taking a test again, and then
Oh,
it's like
I have
2 more years of tests.
I have nightmares about that still, and I've been out of school since 2006. So, but I want to go back to 2008. You're in mines. Your husband's getting ready to go to school. He gets the short end of the stick on this admissions test.
Yeah, he'd already been in school for 2 years, by the way. So they let you start, and then
That's mean.
it is.
But I mean, my wife and I are still paying for her grad school loans, and she graduated 13 years ago. So they don't. Mean is relative, I think, when it comes to post-secondary education.
Yeah.
But so you get this news that is like, oh boy, and you're seeing what's happening in the news with the economy and the housing market and everything in 2007, 2008, 2009 that is just flipping upside down. Where do you and him kind of start that conversation, and how were you both feeling at the time of like, I mean, I guess just what kind of walk us through how you guys approach that, because I don't want to paint like what my emotions would have been onto what you guys experienced.
Oh, we didn't have any plan. I please don't think that any point in time the like idea to have a kid and any thoughts about our financial stability were related at all or cross-referenced.
I don't think they
No.
ever are when it comes to having a kid or grad school or like all of that
Oh
stuff is
no.
just, they're just
We didn't
hurdles you have
say
to
like,
get
oh,
over.
these are our measly grad school stipends and this is a great time to have a kid.
Yeah, exactly.
And the economy is going, no, those weren't. It was all just figured out as we went.
I think you
But
just stacked it up to make it really hard on yourself. You're like, I want to see how many barriers I can put in front of myself to make this as hard as possible.
I mean, other people, I think that we'd saved personally, each had a little bit of money going into it, and we had a very, very cheap wedding. But we were clearly living above our means, and so our savings were dwindling. And then we went down to we were going to have one income. Yeah, it kind of makes the decision for you. I mean, leaving the program I was in at Mines, it's not easy to say I'm going to quit my program, right?
Yeah.
Or stop my grad school program. And I guess I'm always fighting against gender stereotypes. So the idea that as the female that I'm going to give something up to follow my husband, rubbed me a little bit, but it just made the most sense at that time, to have a more stable income.
So, but on the backside of that, when you get to U of M again and you go and you meet this professor who's like, no, I have research for you right now. And I do not care that you are going to have a kid. These things are part of being a human being.
Right.
That is having a child. And I understand this. How did that make you feel to have someone who understood that reach out to you and say, no, I want you to be part of this?
I mean, I wouldn't say I felt a huge emotional connection, but it is a relief. I mean, it was exciting to get into the lab, and it's nice to have barriers not put up in your way. I mean, you're always grateful for that. And it ended up being a really great group of people to work with. So unfortunately, shortly after Cedric was born, this professor announced that she had taken a position at UC Santa Barbara. And so I didn't work with her a whole lot.
Now we're going to move to Santa Barbara.
No.
Let's go.
No, she's just like, I know you're obviously not going to be transferring again because you moved here to be with your husband. Oh, I'm not sure what all the clanging is. Hopefully you can't hear it. But I lost my train of thought. Yeah, so she worked a lot with another professor just down the hallway. And so what we did was co-advise my dissertation. But he was the one who supervised most of it. But it's a pretty diverse group. A lot of really interesting people. And the professor, a new professor, the one I've been working for, I don't know, what year is it? 8 years now that he's been a professor at U of M. Like they really respect work-life balance and diversity and differing opinions. And so I got lucky.
All right. You are lucky. You did your dissertation. You're a doctor now. You've gone through all this postdoc. What the hell do you actually do? Like people see your Instagram is like cool fracturing of metal, all these awesome photographs on a microscope, electron microscope. Like what actually does Dr. Tracy Berman do on a daily other than break stuff? Or is that it?
I don't break things that often.
Well, those are the only photos I see on Instagram. It's like, check out how this thing got busted.
Things that aren't busted up there. So we usually say like processing, microstructure, properties, relationships, and everyone's got a cool little triangle picture. But what you do to make the material affects what the structure looks like, especially on the microscopic scale, which is what I usually study. And then that influences how it performs. So the strength or the fracture toughness or the formability or the ductility. And so I look at those kind of relationships, and my specialty is the microscopy, not the super duper high resolution stuff. I've done a little bit of that, but I do a lot of what's called texture analysis. So I look at how if you think about the materials formed by crystals coming together, like how those crystals orient with respect to each other, which impacts the properties a lot. So that's my specialty. And we focus on lightweight materials. So I got a little scared when you guys have like asked me anything, because if I've done things before that where I say a metallurgist and people like ask me things or like sword making, and I'm like, I don't know anything about steel. So I mean, magnesium, aluminum, titanium.
You can get into sword making. I'm just saying.
Here, I think that's the cool thing about being a PhD in metallurgy is you could just say words, and who on this call or who in the stream chat right now is going to be like,
so
no,
my PhD,
no.
Yeah, my PhD isn't in metallurgy though. So I stayed in applied physics. I came in through physics. Yeah. And so it's very applied. It's very applied so much that it's actually metallurgy. But
okay.
Yeah, so I didn't take
a
lot of the classes that a metallurgist would have, and so I never memorized the steel phase diagram.
Okay, we'll swap out my words for applied physics, but still,
okay.
There's no one. I feel pretty confident that there's no one right now in this immediate conversation, and there's no one in the comments that is going to be smart enough to challenge you if you said something about steel. I don't care how many. I don't care how many like Forged in Fires that you've watched and how many of those shows that you've watched, but whatever. Regardless, so
I don't know. Actually, that's one of my like. I don't know. I never want to like make myself sound smart, or that I don't have vulnerabilities, or talk over people. So I want to be able to talk to people about what I do.
Yeah.
Even if they're the custodian, like sometimes they talk to me.
I think that's very important, especially when it is something that you've thrown out a lot of big words. You're talking about, high-end equipment,
jargon,
and it's something that like I think both Doug and I in our day-to-day jobs we try and be very careful about it as well. And I think it's something that everybody needs to realize that not everyone has your endemic knowledge. But I do want to follow up before we kind of jump into the race piece of it is your job now. Are you more on like raw research, or are you working with a manufacturer or a partner organization that is kind of funding a lot of this research to come up with new materials or watch how existing materials or prototypes behave?
Yeah, so most of our funding comes in through collaborations. So it just so happens that now I am funded on projects to do really like fundamental research where it doesn't need to have an application. But I've also done collaborations with Ford and GM, Chrysler. I'm starting a new one with Novelis. They do aluminum. Boeing cares a lot about metals. So a lot of my projects are funded by companies, or they have partners, right? Who have applications they care about.
That's cool. I think that's neat because it gives you a perspective of your work having application,
Yeah.
right? I think a lot of people can struggle with like, oh, I'm just conceptually thinking about this thing. But it's cool that you can be like, no, I remember when I was doing the work on this specific aluminum. Oh, here now they're utilizing it for this process or this thing.
In
You
my
can,
head,
Yeah.
when you say Boeing, I'm just assuming that the work you're doing is going to like all of these Black Ops plane and NASA projects that are like gonna land on Mars. Don't even tell me I'm not
Okay.
right. We're just gonna go with that because I think
John's
that's
just
cool.
obsessed with SpaceX currently. So
Yeah.
Yeah, they do a lot of metallurgy work too.
Yeah, I cried.
yeah, I'm sure.
I cried when they put the lander on Mars. I watched it live and then I cried. It was neat.
John, I love you. You're
Whatever.
the biggest nerd. I love it. You're like one of my favorite nerds, John, and I love you very much. So you are doing all this work. You're doing all this stuff. Because we're talking similar timelines, where do your professional development with, going to school, raising your son, going through that process, where does that join with your racing engagement with triathlon? Like, because that's kind of the place that started to really make a nugget.
Yeah, I mean, everything's always been pretty much in parallel. And I was doing a lot of racing, first year when I was at School of Mines. But up until I found out I was pregnant and a little bit after, and then took a break for pregnancy, and then pretty much as soon as I could start running again, I did, though not as fast as some of the professional athletes come back at all. I was like 1 lap around the park, yay! That's all I could do. I know some of them are just like out of the hospital, running a marathon, it feels like. But
yeah, I don't
anyways,
understand that.
Yeah, I feel like there's been times when I've thought I needed to cut back on the athletic pursuits so that I'd have more time for the professional things, but I just mentally, I need a diversion. I guess I need something else to balance it out to keep me happy. I guess I need those endorphins from the exercise. Because then if I think I have a workout, then I'm going to want to make sure I go to bed on time. I'm going to eat on time. If I take that out, then I'm, eating garbage and staying up all night long, and you just get miserable. And so wanting to stay healthy for training kind of helps keep me healthy for work too. It might look like it's cutting time out of my day, but I really think it balances it out.
That's such it's such an interesting take on it. Like we've had so many folks on the show that talk about, I'm so committed to this, and when I'm a dad, I'm a dad. When I'm a racer, I'm a racer. When I'm at work, I'm at work, and trying to balance all of those things. And I think everybody has their own like secret sauce that they think works, but I've never heard it described in that manner of without athletic endeavors, I can't be as good at my job, but without my job,
and
I
my
have no
mood is terrible. I can't be a good wife or mother either. I mean, my husband doesn't like it when I have rest weeks because I'm cranky. I mean, I need them. I need something to do to get me out of the house. It just improves my mood so much.
Okay, so that's kind of the mood piece of it. Is all of these pieces all kind of become, they're all kind of keystones for you. Is you work is important, being a mom is important, being a spouse is important, being an athlete is important to you. But when it comes to actually scheduling it and doing the kind of analytical piece of putting it all together, how do you balance, not only for yourself but for your husband, your kid? Like, how do you balance getting putting yourself in a position to be successful at all of those things. Because I think talking about it from an emotive or an ethereal perspective is one thing, but like actually putting it into practice and figuring out what works, I think that's kind of the more complicated piece of it. Because you can say like, oh, when I'm at work, I'm 100% dedicated to work, or when I'm doing my hour on the trainer, I am 100% committed. Like, but that's not like actually scheduling all of those things out so they can be successful.
Yeah. I'm still figuring that out. And then, of course, all of our schedules have been changed so much by COVID that, it's been refiguring it out. And as things continue to change, I'll have to figure it out again. But for me, I always do my workout first thing so that I don't get like caught up with anything at work. And also because my son's normally still asleep. And so I can get out without that, I guess, guilt maybe that I'm taking off, and I can get, a good portion of my workout done before he's up, though he gets up pretty early now. So he's an early bird too. So I always try to knock that out first, and then do my work, and trying to get better at turning the emails off, because those darn emails, like once I get home, I guess home is moving upstairs from the basement where my office is.
Right.
Sometimes,
yeah, exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I want to be done, and I can't like constantly be bouncing back emails about, our lab is relocating. So it's all about what's moving when, and it gets a little stressful. So yeah, trying to turn it off, because there is a perception. It's a salaried position, so that you're always available.
Yeah.
So I just try to ignore that a little bit.
It sounds like from how you describe it that even though things are in flux, right, whether it's the coronavirus and all of us learning those pieces of it and all that, it sounds like structure for you is an important piece of it, whatever that would look like, whether there was athletics or not, whether you had a family or not. Structure seems like a thing that Dr. Tracy Berman really enjoys and it thrives under. Do you think that's a true statement?
I like to know what's coming. Structure in that statement. I'm notoriously messy, and so structuring physical objects is not a specialty of mine. But
that's fine. Me too. Don't worry.
I hate being surprised. Sometimes David likes to play things like, oh, we'll just see what happens. And I'm like, no, we got to know now. Like, it bothers me a lot.
Everything you're saying, I'm just like, yeah, that's me. Yeah. Like, I'm not organized, but like, I like structure. I don't like surprises. I don't like being shocked. I don't like haunted houses. Like, so many of those things I'm so on board with in terms of like completely structured, but like my wife would tell you that I'm not structured.
Yeah.
So if that is kind of a duality that you have, why do you think that structure provides you the ability to feel like you can accomplish all that and feel like a better person? Because you said quite out, like, hey, if I am handling all of these things, I'm better at all of them. Why do you think that is for you?
I do have a lot of things that I'm balancing. And so if you don't have some sort of plan, right, it's hard to get them all in. But if I have too few things on my plate, then you're like, oh, I don't need to do this right now. So you don't do anything. Like somehow I feel like having more things gives me more time because I use my time better. Yeah, and I guess I'm not very good at sitting idle. I need things to put. I need my days to be filled up a little bit.
That's interesting because I recognize that in myself to some extent. If there aren't a million things flying at me, I don't accomplish all this stuff. So I understand that from that perspective.
Yeah, but if it's too much, you get overwhelmed, then you don't do anything, right? You're
right,
like
of course,
going to the bed, staying in the bed, not coming out of the bed.
Well,
no, it's definitely the other side.
And I think this brings up an interesting transition, because in talking to David, I was talking to David this morning, and Hi, David. I know you're listening. He made two statements that I wanted to kind of put into our show notes, and I
Uh-oh.
think this leads to kind of what you were talking about. Is he said that Tracy is dedicated beyond measure, and I think that's where we're kind of drawing this through line of the way that you approached undergrad, grad school, moving back to Ann Arbor, your current job with all of its responsibilities, plus doing these ultra endurance events. That is kind of essentially continuing the 4.0 mindset of high school. Like it is, I want to be good at all of these things and I want to check all of the boxes. And then he
Yeah.
also said the second part of that is when she commits to accomplishing something, she rarely quits, sometimes to a fault.
Ooh.
So
Sure. Yes.
okay.
Yes.
So with that, and I think that there's probably a couple occasions that were on his mind with that, where he might have thought you put yourself
He
into.
probably specifically told you not to say the triathlon. Did he say that?
Nope,
The
we
Traverse
didn't. We
City
didn't.
Half?
We didn't.
Oh,
We
okay.
didn't talk about anything
we
specifically.
don't talk about specifics. No.
But I
Oh,
wanted
okay.
I wanted to kind of just throw that out there in terms of I think there is one, there's a duality of making it through life with the pragmatic pursuits, but also the kind of personal pursuits, whether they're athletic or personal or romantic or whatever those things are, and balancing those things in your life. But I think within each one of those things, there are levels to those pursuits, and it sounds like this one it can touch on trying to check all of the boxes when all of the warning signs are telling you that you need to stop checking boxes.
I'm trying to get better at that. But yeah, I guess it would have been the last triathlon I did. I knew I was burnt out and I wasn't excited about it. And I didn't want to do it, but I'd signed up to do it and all my teammates are doing it. And so I felt like I had to do it. My therapist is like, please don't do this. You're burnt out. And I still did it. I didn't do very well either, but I did okay. Yeah. I just felt like I'd signed up and I said, I don't know.
Is it hard to give yourself the grace to be able to walk away from those things?
I guess so.
So, but this is an interesting.
I find it tremendously hard.
So this is an interesting topic because this is something that if you throw David into this conversation, this is something that a year and a couple months ago that the four of us were talking about the evening before the Red Kite Ronda, where I was the one person saying, I am not doing the 200K full stop.
I remember this conversation very well.
Full stop.
Mm-hmm.
And Doug said, I don't agree with that, but I committed to doing this with you, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to honor that, and it's going to be fine. Whereas when I told you and David, it was like throwing a ping pong ball off of a concrete wall, in the sense that I told him, and he was like, that's not changing. I mean, that's not going to change anything we're doing, and she's going to finish it no matter what.
Correct.
I'm probably going to DNF, but she's going to finish because that's what she does. Just very matter-of-factly, like almost like no emotion to the interaction whatsoever. But it was when he said that this morning when I was talking to him, that really kind of rung in my head of that experience of that night before, where like I was getting a lot of pushback from folks saying like, why are you've been training for this, you're ready to do it. Ryan told me I was ready to do it. Like physically I was, but I didn't want to go put myself in a situation where it was 110, 112 or whatever degrees for that long. And to me, it would have taken away the enjoyment of the actual event. So I like for that specific scenario, I feel like I know what the answer to this is going to be, but was there ever a point where as you started to see the forecast crystallize for that weekend, because it swung, like Monday it was going to be like 88 degrees and I was like, that's perfect, awesome. And then every single day as the week progressed, it was like 95, like 89% humidity, 98, 102, 94% humidity. And then it was just like skull and crossbones from like Thursday onward. And so was there any point during that whole lead up into that event, knowing that this is going to be 200K with, 13,000 feet of climbing and some hike a bike and very kind of remote, unsupported, mixed in with the weather, was there any point where you were at all not 100% sure that you were going to do the 200K event?
No. No, I don't pay a whole lot of attention to the weather. I don't like to let it psych me out. I mean, I do like to be prepared with the gear the best I can be. So if it's hot, I just know that I can't go that hard, right? My heart rate's going to go up faster. And so it's kind of tempering my expectations for that. But that one really didn't concern me. Am I being rude? I don't know.
No, you're not.
No,
No, I think that's not rude. That's part of how you operate. And I think that is fascinating, because to be able to do that is a skill that many people don't even have in any way, shape, or form. The ability to be like, no, I'm not going to think about this whole disturbing set of things. I'm only going to worry about what I can control, and I'm going to work on what I can control, and I'm going to live in that space, and I'm going to move forward, and I'm going to complete this thing, because I know can't control the weather, can't control if a bird attacks me, can't control if a dog chases me, right? Like none of that stuff is under Tracy Berman's control. And I love that that's your perspective, because I think it allows you to operate a lot more freely than other people who we are all incumbent on these neuroses that we have, and the things that concern us. Like, do you feel that that's freeing for you?
I mean, yeah, I feel a little antisocial, but if races have like forums and stuff to get ready for the race, like I can't do that. I don't want to overthink like what tire I'm using or what the weather's going to be like. Or I usually don't even pay much attention to the elevation. Now that I'm racing single speed more, I'm going to get better at that. So I put the right gear on my bike. But I think actually my favorite marathon I ever did was Leadville Marathon. So not the whole ultra, but you go all the way up like Mosquito Gulch Mountain or whatever, and I never looked at the elevation profile, so I didn't know that once you got up that it was like downhill for the finish. So I definitely could have finished faster, but it was gorgeous. But I'm like plodding along trying to pace myself, and then someone's like, it's all downhill, and I'm like, oh really? I was waiting for another mountain or something.
Tuck and roll and just go.
But it's not, you're not like thinking about it too much. Yeah, I don't want to let something get into my head. I think maybe though that last year I did quit the Crusher EX willingly when it got to like 20 hours in and I was barely over the halfway point, and I was like, yeah,
that was a smart
I think
decision,
I can
Tracy.
finish it, but I don't want to take 40 hours to finish an event. Like it just doesn't sound good.
So let's talk through what is different about that decision process than taking on other events, because like clearly there was pragmatism to you wanting to say, you know what, I'm done. Like this event for me is over with. So was it simply that you simply didn't want to be on the bike for a total of 40 hours to complete the event? Or were there other things that were leading towards that
for the
decision?
most part, yeah. I knew going into it, like I don't do sleep deprivation very well. I get really dizzy, which isn't great on a bike. I'm not one of those people who, I mean, I've done all-nighters when I was doing my PhD, but it wasn't good. And so I just knew that it was going to get not great on sketchy terrain. So it's kind of thinking about like, what more am I going to get from the experience now that I'm here? And I wasn't thinking it was going to be, besides like saying I finished, right? That sounds good, but
sure,
that was it. So that was the checkpoint of that. And also, I mean, David was out there supporting me. I'm not the only one not sleeping.
right?
And he worries about me more than anyone else. Like my husband's just like, go ride your bike, and he doesn't notice when I come back, and it bothers David. It's like, who's worrying? Like, I guess
Oh,
you are.
David will worry enough for all of us.
Yes.
He's like all of our mothers for sure,
Yes.
which is great.
Yeah, I mean, it just felt bad to have him like following me around, and I'd gotten lost. And so, the cell reception's pretty sketchy up there. I was having trouble with my GPS signal wasn't that accurate, and so it took me quite a while to get out of that point where I was lost. And there's no saying that wasn't going to happen again,
Right.
which I wasn't super enthusiastic about. And of course, the more tired I get, the dumber decisions are going to happen when I get lost, right? So you're going to, some guy was in the middle of a swamp apparently when they found him. And that probably would have been me.
Do you want to go back and do it again?
I will not do that particular one. So before that event, my cutoff was kind of Ironman. 17 hours is the maximum. You can't go over that. And that made a lot of sense to me because you still have time to sleep. I mean, you can't because you've just done an Ironman and your body's completely wrecked, but theoretically you could sleep for some amount of time. So, I mean, I entertained like Unbound now, the XL.
Yeah.
I'd entertained thoughts of that, but I think trying to keep 2 events that are under 18 hours or 17 hours is what I'm going to do. So I won't do that one. They have already said that they're not going to do like a mass start race again this year, but there is an option to do the same course for the more traditional course. But it's the same day as the Glen Gravel Ramble. So I'm going to do that with David, and we're going to ride the tandem and probably get stuck in the sand because it's got little skinny road bike wheels. So I think I'm going to do the 100 for the Crusher EX, and it's still going to take me a long time, but
Sure.
20 hours is more my cup of tea.
So
18-20.
So in talking about all of this, do you think before moving back and getting really ingrained in ultra endurance sport, let's say put yourself back in 2008.
2008. Yeah.
Would you have this same mindset of I'm going to set a goal and I'm going to go get it and I'm going to figure out the process to go get there? Or do you think that the mindset that we're talking about of I learned my limit with Crusher EX and that was my limit, but I'm okay with these other things that someone like myself, I found it dangerous, and you're like, no, I'm just going to make sure that I check all my boxes. Like, do you think those are innate in you or they are learned traits from your experiences? Because for those listening, she sent us an Excel doc with your accomplishments from like 2007 onward, and it is every single event, every single distance, your finishing time, your place, all of those things, and it is a wildly impressive list of accomplishments with so many big name events, so many long distance events, whether they're runs, they're tries, they're bike events, whatever it is. It is a crazy amount of events. So this is not like, oh, I do like 2 events a year. No, you've been doing 10, 12, 15 events, big events a year for 15 years now. So I'm wondering if it's the accumulation of that knowledge, or you've just been kind of searching and reapplying the same mindset from the beginning, and this is just how you're hardwired.
I think it's a combination of both. Like the kind of always working on improving. I think that's hardwired, and something that I've always been doing. I think I got 2 most improved awards from cross country because you just keep building. And I made sure to put in my miles in the off season by myself, and I was very committed to that. And so, but then a lot about being successful as an endurance athlete is fueling yourself and understanding like where your limits are, not going out too fast, unless you're actually a real racer and you got to stay in that pack. But not real racer. Let me say, the people who want to do that draft style racing, which really isn't my cup of tea.
Yeah, because I would say
But
you're actually a real racer because you go out and
I'm a
do
real
the
person
tricks.
who goes out on the race course. It's
Correct.
true.
Exactly. Correct.
I'm a racer. Yeah, so like drafting style racing. So that's a little bit different. But or you'd approach it a little differently. But working, I guess I kind of learned the lessons. I joined a running group in Ann Arbor. That's now the PR Run Club. But just seeing how consistent people were, like the people who were successful, like they, year after year, they're putting in the workouts and they're showing up to the workouts. So learning those kind of things and seeing how they improved and improved as they aged, as age group athletes and kept at it. I think that's something that I've learned over time, seeing how other people do it and being inspired by other people's consistency. And the coach that I worked with when I was doing triathlons, Michael Parker, like he taught me lessons, and I'm working with Ryan Gam now. And so, yeah, just picking up things from other people. And now that we have social media, there's a lot of inspiring women on there too that I can connect with and figure out the pieces to, I don't know, inspire that drive. It's both.
Do you recognize the fact that what you do is inspiring to other people?
I was just gonna say that because
Um,
everything you just
I
said,
just said it. I just said it. So
because
I
everything
covered
you
you.
just said of I was looking at these other people and being inspired by what they were doing and how comfortable they were with with themselves, their process, what they did or didn't like, and kind of how they went to it. Like, I'm sitting here thinking like that is what is so impressive and inspiring to me about you. But yeah, do you even realize that you're doing that?
I probably wouldn't have maybe 5 years ago. I mean, David kind of tries to beat it into my head, and makes me pay attention. And then the Ann Arbor Velo Club did awards this year, and so I was nominated most inspirational. So I guess David's not the only one. David and you two aren't the only ones.
It's something you got to think about, right? Like, one of the things about our show is it doesn't matter if you're raking in a paycheck as a professional doing this thing, right? That isn't what is important, right? It's about inspiring other people to do something in their life, whatever it is, whatever thing they connect with. And all these lessons are things that, like, you've obviously pulled inspiration from so many people in your life to like follow through on things or do different things, and from your own deep well. But like, it is amazing how comfortable you are with the person that you are, that doesn't even seem to register for you. Like the
Oh,
fact that
that's
you're
funny.
like,
Yeah.
John and I were genuinely worried that we would we're going to make it through the Rondi. We think so, even though we're doing the shorter distance. And when we got back and we're like, we are bushwhacked, we're like, where the hell is Tracy? Right? Like, we were like, we are inspired by your effort and the things you do.
Yeah.
And I think so many people are, because you set your sights on a thing and then you just get it.
I've been working on it though. I mean, Red Kite isn't out of nowhere, right? That's years of experience, like years of being consistent. I guess the very first bike event that I did, I registered to do with my dad, and that's the National 24-Hour Challenge in Hastings. I don't know if you're familiar with it. We weren't going to ride the whole 24 hours.
I was like,
We just wanted to.
That's a bit of a get.
No, so we were just going to do the first loop, which I can't remember. It's 112 or 120 miles together. And I, didn't know how to have water or train or anything. So I made it to like 73 miles. It was a hot day. I didn't have any water. I was like begging water off random people. And so I DNF'd. So, I mean, that's where I started. It's been years, maybe not as many as you originally thought, but, what year is it now? I don't even know. It's been at least 5 years of, really consistent work at endurance and, learning from every event.
I'm still gathering that two things. One, you have trouble taking that praise and hearing that and actually taking it in. But secondarily to that, I'm curious if you ever actually take stock in from where you started and the amount of work that you've put in over the last 5 years to be able to be in a position to not be second guessing any of your decisions about race entries or changing weather or anything like that. Like you do seem so focused on checking all the boxes and making sure everything that you can do is ready. But are you actually, in doing that, allowing yourself to smell the roses as you go along, I guess?
Sometimes I am. I still have, when I moved to Colorado, I was doing live journal. Did you guys live journal?
I remember it.
You know what a live journal is? Okay.
Yep,
So I live
I'm
journaled
aware.
with other people who were in first year of grad school. And so I've got some of my posts from that's when I first got my like real bike. And I was trying to go up Lookup Mountain in Golden, which is a pretty popular ride, and it'd be like made it 4 miles up today and turned around. So I mean, I can go back and see that stuff, and that I was creeping along going up the hill and then really scared coming down it with the fast speeds. So yeah, I can look back and recognize that sometimes.
Because it's been a pretty amazing journey that you've had even over the past, what, I can't do the math. What's 21 minus 8?
13.
Someone
13.
Right? 13 years, like even coming from like trail running and doing all that stuff and getting this place, you're going out and doing some of the hardest possible stuff in cycling that other people are just frightened of, and you're just like, no, I'm going to set it here and I'm going to do it. And I think that's an interesting space. If people want to go do this stuff, there's a path, there's a journey that you can take. It takes a lot of different pieces of it. It takes a lot of commitment in a lot of different places, takes a lot of management, takes a lot of like being engaged in the process, but you've built a blueprint that has worked for you, but can work for other people to like go achieve something that they don't think right now they necessarily want to achieve or could achieve. And I think that's powerful. So we have been like, now I understand how you got where you are at, Dr. Tracy Berman, and how I understand more about your history and how you have gotten here. And this is the first of Conversations Pebbles. I hope you have enjoyed all this piece of this. Because now Dr. Tracy Berman's history is part of Pebble canon, right? It's part of the canon of the gravel lot. Yeah. We all now know a little bit more. So we get, when she comes back next time, we can talk more about what's going on, maybe specifically in the moment. But this has just been awesome. Like, I feel like we've bumped into each other repeatedly and we've spent time around each other, but we've never like talked about your life history. And I think this gives John and I like a great window into you as a person. And I'm really thankful that we've been able to share this time to do just specifically this.
Thanks.
Yeah, same.
So, because I know you are a loyal Pebble.
Dun, dun,
yes.
dun.
What do you want the Pebbles to take home from today before we roll out to a quick AMA?
I had the pre-canned response, but we didn't go into any of it at all. But can I still do that one?
Sure, you can do whatever you want.
It's not like scripted or anything.
No, this is your time.
Okay. So just thinking about focusing on races, and one of the reasons that I like gravel races is you can really set your own like internal goals of what you want to achieve. Because if you have, externally motivated goals about how you're going to place, like you're not necessarily in control of those. And so if your whole season's and you're not professional, you're not making money. So you don't have to worry about it. But if your whole season's goal is like, I'm going to do this well at a race, and that race, it's just not a great day, like you still like know if you did your best or not. So it's not like a smart goal. It's like, check in with yourself, right? Whether you gave it your all or something. So I guess thinking about setting more of your goals so you're driven internally about what you want to do. Race against yourself. But if you're really into the big group. placing
I,
thing. You can have fun with that too.
yeah, but yeah, I think that like there's always people that want to go step up on a podium and say I got X result or Y result, but as somebody that's done both of those events, and I know Doug, you and I were actually talking about this before Tracy you came on, is that all you can control is the things that you can control, and
Right.
and I think I personally look back at races that I've done and races that I have like completely buried myself for, and others that I've given like 95%, and I know, and when you cross the finish line whether you did that or
Right.
you didn't,
Right.
and I think that part of it is that's the cool thing of one. It's the cool thing about cross racing is it's short, so you don't have to have a crazy
Oh, that's the
level.
bad thing about cross racing, but go
Well,
ahead.
but I think from that from that SMART goal perspective, which we've mentioned those on the show a couple times of something that's measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely, all that stuff. If you're racing cross, that's not like you can't attach SMART goals to cross, but when you cross the line when you finish a cross race, or if you finish, like when I finished Barrier-Roubaix a couple years ago, like I knew when I finished that race that I like was running out of gas as I crossed the finish line. I was like, that was the exact amount of effort for that 3 hour 40 something minute event.
Mm-hmm.
And those, looking back on those races, even if I would have finished 112th in a wave of a cyclocross race, I don't care. Like,
Right.
because that feeling that I get out of it of, you know what, I hit the ball as hard as I could today. And I think that's something that gets lost in the minutia of, signing up for a USAC race or signing up for this race and being in, there's only 10 people in my age group, I might be able to get a medal or whatever those things
I want there to be
are.
more people in my age group. See, part of the reason that I often do so well is there's just a smaller field for women, right? And so it's better if I'm not placing as often, because hopefully that means the women's field is growing. So I don't want more people coming to the sport, stronger athletes coming to the sport to be something I'm worried about or looking down about. So
like you said before, you're not trying to fund your life, right? You're not trying to like go out and make sure that you can pay your bills by racing your bike. You're racing your bike because it enthuses
pull the D off that. She's trying to fund her life.
Yes.
Ooh, John, nice. Nice piece. Yeah, trying to fund your life. And you're trying to give yourself some goals and some things that you can build on and give yourself some balance. And I think if you're functioning in that space, then the more the merrier. Let's have it a deep field. Let's have 400 women in your age group. That sounds freaking awesome.
Right.
Yeah. Awesome. No, I appreciate that. And I think all of the thoughts, like it is awesome because your perspective and the space you're in is not necessarily not unique. It is unique to you, but it is also something that more people need to embrace, from setting a space where they can go out and achieve them.
Yep.
And I think that's an important piece of this, because you can race yourself. And if you can do that, then anything can be fun. Did I do a little better than I did last time? Did I know I emptied the tank? That's great. And I love it for sure.
Yeah.
So we're going to put a little pause in this. We're going to, we've got some AMA questions we want to ask you. Is it time for a bio break? Does anyone need
surprisingly, I'm okay this time.
Okay. Dr. Tracy Berman's fine. Dr. John Wolvery, which is the new title I've just given him, is fine.
Nice. Okay? I haven't paid for any of it, but let's do the sponsor reads.
Dr. BS.
and then once we start the AMA, I will
bio break for you.
Yeah, I will go take mine.
So always a huge thanks to all you Pebbles for joining us tonight, whether you're in the live stream. We really appreciate you being here. We cannot do this without your support. As always, make sure to subscribe, click the like button, engage with us, follow us on Twitch, do all the things. Make sure to go to our Patreon. As we said at the beginning, Patreon has been an amazing support. Thank you to all of you who've participated. We cannot tell you how much it means to us. There's special content that comes out on that, and it starts rolling out this week. So get in there. Meow.
Yeah, absolutely. So in addition to your generous support making sure that these lights stay on and that the internet keeps interneting and my camera keeps cameraing, we encourage you to head on over to our sponsors. You guys should know them. You guys should love them by now. But we're going to keep telling you about them each and every week because we love them. We love what they're doing for us. We love the partnership, and we want you guys to be able to go support them. So if they have a discount code, go cash in on the discount code. If not, just go support these amazing folks because they are, in addition to you, helping us keep this thing running forward.
Absolutely. And it's getting warmer, so maybe your bare legs can show. And if your bare legs are showing, you better have the top part of your legs wearing Be Free Ride bikes. They make amazing cycling apparel. We're into our 3.5 year with the folks, Adam and everybody over at BFRB Cycling. They make our team kit. We love it. It is amazing. But all of their like non-team kit is absolutely spectacular. Great chamois, built for you, unbelievably comfortable, amazing quality, attention to detail. If you need to get yourself or your team some cycling kit for 2021 and beyond, you need to check them out. Head on over to bfrbcycling.com and take a look at how they can help you and your entire team get outfitted. So when we all roll out and can hug each other at group rides again, you look super fresh.
And we are also powered by the caffeine from Grimper Brothers Coffee. For me, it is every day because I am working from home. Doug, I know you're doing it on the weekends.
I've been making it every single day.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right.
I am almost out, and it is a very sad moment.
It is a
place an order before Sunday.
It is a tenuous time in the McClintock household.
For sure.
Regardless, follow the link in our show notes. Head to grimperBrothers.com now and get your hands on amazing coffee that supports great causes across the cycling world and events and causes and so many different things. So whether you want to choose your coffee based on a cause or you want to choose a coffee based on where the beans are coming from or how they're roasted, all of those things are available to you, and you know that the money's going to something that is actually worthwhile. Dan hand roasts these things every single week, sends them out on a weekly basis, so you're getting the absolute most freshest beans possible. They are amazing. It is definitely something that once you do it, you will never want to go back to regular unground, mass-produced beans ever again.
And you may have to, but you won't want to.
Correct. Yeah. Like I have them. I have the can in the pantry just in case we get to a point where it's like I forget to order more. But every time it gets to like, Doug, where you're at right now of like, oh man, this is getting way too close, it's like you get the wrong kind of jittery. Regardless, don't forget, if you sign up for the coffee subscription service, you'll get an entire bag of coffee for free. So again, grimperbrothers.com. Go there now, buy some awesome coffee.
Also, a massive thanks to Mitch at BioWheels Fit Studio and Workshop right here in Cincinnati, Ohio, offering you the full host of bike fitting services, as well as amazing brands of bikes, Cervelo, Specialized, Boots, just awesome top end brands with amazing fitting services, so you can have the best, most comfortable fit on a bicycle. He has been doing bang up work with people from Pittsburgh or Ohio or all over the Midwest in the United States, one of the top fitters in the nation. If you want to make things happen and make sure you're comfortable on your bike, make sure to get with BioWheels Fit Studio and Workshop right here in Cincinnati, Ohio.
And also by the Ritual All Natural Skincare, providing small batch handmade chamois cream made in very, very small batches right here in Cincinnati, Ohio. And the coolest thing about this is Mitch and Kate are making these specifically for whether you have a bike shop, whether you have a team, if you want custom branding on the packaging, if you want to be a part of actually picking what the chamois cream smells like, how much menthol and cooling is in it, they are all making that available to you. So you guys can get in touch with us, Doug and I, today to learn more. But again, that is the Ritual All Natural Skincare, all locally purchased, all natural ingredients, things that you actually want to put on your skin, not like any of the other mass-produced types of chamois cream that are out there.
Absolutely. And finally, a massive thanks to our friends Troy and the entire gang down at Hand Up. I got to tell you, the new spring drop is absolutely everything. If you have not checked out, they've got fingerless gloves, which John tried to pioneer one time when he cut the fingers off
I
of his
feel
gloves.
like I want to have R&D
Yeah,
on
no,
my. That's really all I
that's
want, is to have
good.
that to be able to go on my resume on LinkedIn.
And folks, the research and development that John did is that does not work.
Yeah,
You actually need to manufacture gloves to be fingerless appropriately.
right.
So don't do what John did, but go buy Hand Up's new
Go buy.
fingerless gloves,
Yeah.
or their new full finger gloves that are touch sensitive that allow you to use your phone and all of that stuff. They have more jorts out, just good stuff. New socks colors, just amazing apparel for bike, golf, which that season's coming around the corner as well. Snow season's kind of fallen away, but they have it all, and it allows you all to express how you feel and the person that you are on the inside, on your hands and your legs.
Also, Doug, I came up with a new venue for them. I don't know if you saw the podium pictures from this weekend.
No.
Hand up gloves on the top step, the flannel. I wore that to the RC car race.
Oh, to the RC car race? Yeah. Do you think they could make gloves that are better for RC car racing?
They don't need gloves.
Okay,
The flannel was perfect though.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
That works good. RC car racing, you can wear their gear as well.
Yes.
So make sure to click the link in the show notes and go hit that and enter Pebble $sign at checkout to make sure to serve yourself 10% off everything in store. I've already got a cart ready and I'm ready to submit it tomorrow.
So as we say almost every single week, multiple times a week, we love hearing from you guys. So make sure to visit, subscribe to all of our social media feeds, and go to thegravelot.com to stay in touch and stay up to date on everything. Join our live shows every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Streamlabs, where you can engage with us, our guests. But also, one last note here to go download Bike Shop Show. If you're watching the live stream, it's going to go live tomorrow morning. Go find them on all your major podcast networks. If you're listening to this on a podcast, finish this podcast, but then go search and download it and get caught back up, because Scotty D and Mr. David Palin. I almost said Mr. Davey P, but I'm trying to be. I am being supportive because I love those guys, and I'm very excited that they are back making content again. Go find it on all the major podcast platforms. We're also going to be hosting it on thegravelot.com as well, where you can also find the Beeline, Girls Moving Mountains, all of our Gravelot content, and also, yes, now the Bike Shop Show. So we are just continuing to accumulate and hoard more content on thegravelot.com to give you really no reason to go to any other bike-related website.
Absolutely. They're awesome. We love them. We're glad they're back. Also, format changes, but all the things you loved from before.
Yes.
So go enjoy that. Our intro and outro music is from Wadaboy, so many thanks to him for all of the music and the jams. Make sure to check him out on the major platforms, or just go into the show notes and click the link on that. So, John,
You're going to take the first one, and I'm going to...
I got the first one.
All
We're
right.
going to go take a bio break.
Yes.
Dr. Berman, are you ready to roll in?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so the first question, and of course, this is the one that everyone has on their mind. How do you balance a full-time job, a kid, a husband, and ultra-endurance distance events and training? What is your secret?
I don't know how well it's balanced. I saw someone say work life blend, so maybe it's all blended together.
A blend.
Yeah.
That's a good
So
way to
I mean, I try to incorporate some of my workouts into commutes, and that's helping right now. While my son's not in school because of COVID, and so that I can be home in the afternoons with him and still get to work at a reasonable time. So that's one of my tricks. My husband does pretty much all the cooking and shopping. I'm not a very patient cook, so I can only make things that are quick.
Ellen's not a patient shopper, so I'm required to be the shopper, and I was pre-COVID, so no,
Yeah.
it's okay. Like, we already had
Yeah.
our roles, so it's okay. You got to learn that piece of it.
Yeah, and I don't do any house cleaning at all, so that saves time too. And my personal hair maintenance is very minimal.
That's true.
That saves some minutes there.
I mean, I did go to the barber today, but I fully back the buzz, because the buzz was like 10 years of my life, and I back it.
David's been doing this for me. This is the Mr. David Palin special.
Dr. David Palin, the tonsorial
Mr.
services.
David Palin.
No, he's now a doctor of tonsorial services.
Yeah. I guess it's just partially accepting that you can't be good at everything. Like, I wouldn't say good at everything you can be. You can perform well at everything, but it's not easy. Sometimes it's messy. My house is messy.
But I like that you said it's blending, not necessarily balance. It's understanding when you got to give in one space and maybe take away in another.
Yeah.
That's a good one. All right. I'll ask another one before John's back. This is because this one's real good for me. I like this because this makes me think of, were there tuba groupies at U of M? Were there was it because I know a bunch of people from the band at IU, and there were band groupies. Were there tuba groupies at U of M?
No, not really. I mean, there was a 4-year-old boy who used to love to come watch us, but I don't think you call him a groupie.
No, I think that seems tremendously inappropriate.
Yeah, for sure. But I think it's important to note how fun that word combination is to say, though. Tuba groupie? Tuba groupie.
It is a nice word.
It's just it becomes one just big word.
Does roll off the tongue.
Yeah, it was kids and parents, pretty much like us. I don't know if there were groupies for any of the band sections. If there were, I didn't know about it.
Okay.
So did you guys have any cool tuba tricks that you guys specifically did at UNM? We know that at Ohio State, right? The person who is supposed to dot the I at Ohio State is always the tuba, right? That's a cool thing to do. Did you guys have any cool tuba tricks at U of M?
I mean, we didn't have. Oh, we had the kicking off the Let's Go Blue. We started playing that. We were the ones who would start, and then the band would jump in. But no, I mean, the tuba section was really laid back. So I don't think anyone wanted too much responsibility. I don't know if I should say that. It was a much different environment than being in the piccolo section, right?
Yeah, it's not as cutthroat.
It's pretty laid back.
Yeah. But I mean, to be fair though, Michigan's fight song is pretty badass when it comes to fight songs.
Oh, John, it's great.
John, this is how you get excommunicated from Ohio. I have no doubt. No. I'm not from here.
I went to another Ohio State school, and it annoys me when people say that there is only one Ohio State
I'm just saying they're gonna hunt you. I'm not saying that you
I'll tell them where I live. Come after you. That's fine. They know where I live. Whatever. Anyway, so between running, triathlon, and bike events, you've done a ton of different versions of each of them, distances, levels, quality, all of that stuff. So if you could pick one of those, of all of them, to say, this is my favorite event of all time that I have been a part of, what is it and why is it your favorite?
Oh my gosh. One favorite of all time. I don't know if I can do that.
Okay.
Can I look at my spreadsheet? I got to pull up my spreadsheet.
Yeah, fine. Yeah.
No, it'll probably take too long.
Or maybe it's not
I've
even.
never traveled anywhere super exotic. I've been to Canada. That's my international travel. So I've never gone anywhere super crazy. Oh, you know what? It might be. Okay, I've got one. So it was a 50K run in Florida. And so I flew down there with my camping stuff and rented a car, and then went to the campground and did a 50K there, and that was good. No, I like the rustling past the palms, like those palms, it makes a cool noise when you run past it. And I specifically, I don't know why this would be a positive, but I was doing really well and I felt really good until some woman ran past me and told me how well I was doing it. She sucked my mojo somehow, and I totally bonked after that point. I was like, how did that happen? But that's probably my favorite that I've done.
It's a good
I don't
one.
know why Florida. That's not a state I'd be going to now, but yeah.
Yeah, right,
It's
right
like a
now.
little subtle dig. Okay,
Sorry, Florida.
so Doug, answer the same question.
Favorite event I've done?
Yeah.
I
Oh yeah.
honestly, I mean, honestly, I have to say it was the Rondi. Like, I had so much fun because we had like this wild time of like, it's good. We're gonna be in a dorm that has air conditioning, and now it's not.
Eh.
And then it's like just all the mental stuff of it, and we just had the best day together, and had so much fun together. And sharing that with my best friend was just awesome. Like, I don't know that I've ever had a better time doing a thing that was supposed to be competitive like than that. I just really, that was like a very special time for me.
Yeah, I think it's hard to look past that for me as an experience in totality,
Yeah.
of like all of the training that we did leading up to it. During that training was like, there's so many rides on that I was getting updates from Amanda. Like, she took her first steps when we were out on a training ride after breaking her leg, and she went on her first walk like when we were out on a training ride, and like so many of those things happened, and then
We did a thing.
yeah, and then all of the stuff to that of like, yeah, we went and found the closest Walmart to get a fan, and then everyone was like, where'd you get your fan? And then suddenly like all of the fans were sold out of the Walmart.
It is also where probably the greatest photo of me has ever been taken.
It's on our
I know
Instagram if
that
anybody
photo.
wants to go back and
Let's
find
go
it.
back
Okay.
and look at it.
Yeah.
me in front of the fan.
So for anyone out there that wants Doug to send them nudes, all you have to do is go back to about 2 years ago, and you can find Doug's nudes on our Instagram.
They are not nudes. Let's be very clear.
Well, they're Instagram-able. But yes, that was a moment. But I mean,
Can I pick a second
I was
event?
just getting ready to pick a second one as well, so I'll let you go first.
Oh, so I would say in terms of like memorable would be the first time I did Michigan coast to coast with David. So we hadn't been like, we'd ridden a lot together up until that point, but we weren't super close yet. And I get nervous about riding with other people, especially because I call lots of bio breaks and I don't want to be a pain. And, I like to keep a smooth, even pace. So I don't necessarily like to ride with other people. So the fact that we ended up riding together the whole time, and, sometimes I would be pushing him, and then later on he was kind of pulling me, going through that experience together, I think was really what started us developing a deeper friendship. And so it was also nice because Scott Diedenbach supported us, and we went up with Amanda Nauman. So that was a good one too.
It's funny how all of these things always end up coming back to, like, that's what solidified, or that's what expanded, or that's what nurtured our friendship, or whatever. Like, that's how I met this person. That's how I met that person. Or
just it's about people.
Yeah.
People, not just bikes. It's about people.
And there wasn't that much talk about like how hard you went or where you finished. None of us mentioned where we finished.
No,
in any of those statements.
It did not matter at all.
Yeah.
All right. We have one last question before we wrap this sucker up, and I think this is a good one because my trivia on this is not great. So can you share something cool about Michigan and its people that most people do not know? Can you give us a good Michigan fact? You grew up there?
Yeah, I've been in Michigan most of my life. I think that, I don't want to be mean. I don't think Midwesterners are as nice as everyone says they are. I don't know. I don't know if I have a good Michigan fact.
I like the first one. We can get deep.
I was going to say we might have to dig into that one a little bit.
You want to dig into that?
I've really only lived in 2 different places, but Coloradans are really nice and friendly, and like
because they don't have air.
Yeah, I don't know. Like as a runner, I wasn't a big fan of cyclists. The kits, and I don't know why. I just didn't like cyclists. And so I was doing trail running and I'd come across the mountain bikers. They're so nice, all the mountain bikers. And then, I mean, back here, I don't know if I'd say, I mean, there are a lot of friendly mountain bikers, but they're also pretty grumpy about who's using the trail and how they're using the trail. So maybe they're nicer in person than online. I just have to avoid them online. But
Different soil types.
Just avoid.
That's what I'll say.
different soil types. Yeah, I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
have a good Michigan fact. We have a lot of lakes, but you already knew that. Like even inland,
Mhm.
there's a ton of lakes. So water everywhere. There's some fact about, the furthest you are away from water, it's not very far.
But I do agree with you on the fact that people in the Midwest. So I grew up in the East Coast and I moved in the Midwest, and I thought like people in the Midwest are very nice. Then I moved to the Southeast and I was like, oh, people in the Southeast are very nice. And then I was like, oh, they are just being rude, but telling you they're being nice.
Bless her.
That one
Bless
was
her
tough.
heart.
Bless your
Yeah.
heart.
Yeah.
That one was a tough one to swallow. But I will say that people in the Midwest are nicer than people on the East Coast. But one thing they share in common, in my opinion, is that people on the East Coast tell you how they feel about you. And people in the Midwest, if they don't want to deal with you, they will just ignore you. But if they deal with you, they are very, very genuine. And you're getting genuine in either way, on the East Coast and the Midwest. Like either in the East Coast, they might curse at you and tell you to go to a place that is very dark or full of fire, in colorful language. But like the Midwest will either welcome you in your home, give you their shirt off their back, or they're just like, I'm done. That's my opinion of the Midwest. The West, don't really have any opinions. I've never lived out there.
Yeah.
John?
I have the Buckeye State on my arm for a reason. Like this is my home. This is where I was born. I love the Midwest. I will say that a couple years ago when Amanda and I went to St. Louis, I was caught off guard by the friendliness of it. It really put on display what, like here in Cincinnati, I think Cincinnati, and even to some extent Cleveland, but Cleveland's a little bit more, I would say, ethnically diverse than Cincinnati is. So it kind of can create its own subcultures. Whereas I think Cincinnati wants to be a little bit Midwest, but it also wants to be East Coast, and it wants to be kind of viewed as an East Coast city. So I think it kind of toes the line of both of those things. So you'll get some Midwest folks, you'll get some more rural folks, and then you'll get some kind of East Coast mentality. Whereas St. Louis was everybody that we ran into. Felt like extended family. Like everybody was so nice, so helpful. That was the vacation that we kind of invented the approach of go to the first restaurant and ask whoever your server is where we should go next, whether it's food or
bar
experience or a bar or a drink or whatever it is, and say like, look, we've been to St. Louis before, we've been to the city before, and we know the Yelp spots. We don't want the Yelp spots. Where would you go next? This is what we like. Where would you go? And everybody was so taken back by that, and they were so friendly and so helpful. Like sit down at the table and like draw maps for us. Helpful. It was crazy. Like that was
closet, and it's real awesome. He has the best whiskey he makes in his bathroom.
Yeah, but that was where I have a shirt that says Midwest Mannered on it, and that was where I got that shirt, because I was like, this city is like what I want everyone in my neighborhood or like my direct vicinity to behave like, because it was so welcoming, so inviting. Everybody was so proud of their neighborhoods. Because again, St. Louis is similar to Cincinnati in that it has like a bunch of little neighborhoods that are very unique in their own kind of cultural ways, and everybody was so proud of their specific neighborhood or the park or whatever the case may be, that they were just so excited to share it. And it's like, yeah, this is kind of how I'm wired. Like I relate to this. It truly does feel like Midwest manners to me.
Huh. Interesting.
I don't have the fact for Michigan, but I can say one thing I really like about Michigan is all of our gravel roads, which is a large fraction of the roads. So,
Yeah.
it's a lot, I wouldn't say better than other places, but if you want to ride gravel, it's better than other places. Like there's gravel roads everywhere.
So I want one follow up to that before we close out is, do you think that makes it a unique training ground for you? Like the ability to have that right out the door. Do you think that helps you be prepared for what you try to accomplish?
I mean, yeah, it always gives me, besides the fact that I get to ride on the hard dirt, it's not like a gravel like Red Cut Ronda, but it's also motivates me to go further because I want to explore new things, and there's not really out of the gravel roads or dirt roads to explore in Michigan yet. So I don't have to leave my home state to have lots of cool adventures.
Follow up to that. Do you think that you would do gravel dirt adventure races if you didn't live where you live? Like if you only had road or you only had access to mountain bike trails, do you
Sure.
think that these types of events would appeal to you as much?
If I didn't have the confidence riding on them all the time, I probably wouldn't have tried one or traveled to go to one. I think road, I've gotten less confident. My furnace has kicked on. I've gotten less confident sharing with lots of cars. So paved road is a little hard for me now. I'm less tolerant than I used to be, even when I was a triathlete, and I wasn't that tolerant of paved roads to begin with. So I'm getting into liking mountain biking more. So if you told me I had an amazing mountain bike network out my door, maybe I'd do that instead of gravel. I don't know.
That makes some sense. That makes some sense for sure. Well,
Yeah.
This has been absolutely awesome, Tracy. It's been just fantastic spending time with you and getting a chance to learn a little bit about your story and how you got where you are. We're so excited that you were able to join us, and definitely want to have you back again in the future. This is awesome. Like step one, we have covered your history. Now we can talk about whatever anytime you come back for sure. So
Okay. Well, I have, I think, exciting plans. So exciting adventures on the horizon, maybe solo, maybe with other people. I don't know. We'll
well,
see.
everyone will be following along, folks. Make sure you follow Tracy on all the socials and follow along with Ann Arbor Velo Club that Tracy's very deeply involved with, and give all the follows. And as we push all this stuff out this week, make sure to share this with all of your friends. Obviously, we are so thankful that all of you joined us. We're so stoked that we have an opportunity to spend some time with Dr. Berman. John, always good to see you from less than a mile away, but in our separate homes. This is how life is.
We're getting
For a
there.
little
We're
while.
getting there. We're getting there.
John's been vaccinated, so we're moving forward. So Pebbles, good to chat with all of you. As we say each and every week, be sure to subscribe, follow, and engage, because decisions and trails are made by those who show up. So if we don't see you this week, we will see you next time. Bye, John.
Bye, Doug.